صلى الله على محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم اللهم صل وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد صلاة نكون بها محبوبين لك ومحبوبين له اللهم صل وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد صلاة نكون بها محبوبين لك ومحبوبين له اللهم صل وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد صلاة نكون بها محبوبين لك ومحبوبين له اللهم صل وسلم على سيدنا محمد
Assalamu alaikum. Alaikum salam.
How are you doing? Okay?
Yeah, Areeb, I'm good, thank you. I hope everyone that's watching is all good as well. We can't see you now.
Right. Here we go.
Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum. Today we're going to be talking about, it's just going to be some discussions, just between me and Safiyyah about why Christmas is haram for Muslims. And, we're going to go over some points that we know about, Christmas and, just talk about some past things related to Christmas that we knew about or maybe we didn't know about, and just have a little short discussion. If anyone wants to join us with any questions, or if you want to guide us somewhere, or, you want to tell us something that we don't know, then you feel free to come on and have a chat with us. So yeah, first of all, I want to start with Christmas. When I was young, when I was going to school, I remember seeing the Christmas trees, and just the time of December was always like an happy time. I don't know if it was the same for you, Safiyyah, if you remember it when you were in school.
With us, it was all about dressing the tree up and getting dressed up yourself and going and sitting in Santa's lap, and he gives you chocolates. So yeah, it was pretty much the same.
I also remember the singing. We used to do a lot of singing and stage shows.
Yeah.
I remember that. Yeah. And then growing up, and then I remember it was slowly introduced to the presents, and it was just a happy, innocent time, I would say. I mean, there wasn't much that I knew about Christmas at all. I mean, it was just something that was, I'd say, just a fun month. December was. So yeah, nothing much more than that. But as I grew up, you start questioning things. You start questioning about, okay, what is Christmas? Why do people celebrate Christmas? And and that's where today's topic comes in. As we go around with the questions to see what is Christmas all about.
Yeah.
So what would you have to say about Christmas, Safiyyah? What do you know about it?
So first of all, as it's just gone yesterday, I'm not going to sit here and say Merry Christmas or anything like that, because in Islam, that's completely haram and against our religion to do. Just because there's many meanings of Christmas, and nowadays, I want to point out that Muslims do celebrate Christmas. They have their Christmas trees in the houses. They put presents underneath it, which is completely against our religion. Because if you look at what we celebrate as Muslims, we celebrate Eid al-Adha, we celebrate Eid al-Fitr, and we also have Jummah, where we go and listen to the khutbah in the mosque. So that's our celebration in Islam. So there's no way, or there's nowhere in the Quran that it says to us Muslims that make Christmas acceptable, or wish, the ones that do celebrate Christmas, there's no rights for us to actually go ahead and wish that. Because when you're wishing that to let's say a non-Muslim, right, you're basically bearing witness to say that Allah has a son. Right, that's what they believe, that Jesus, the Son of God, was born on the Christmas day, which is not a fact. That's not true. Jesus wasn't born in winters. He wasn't born in the time of winters. He was born in summers. Right, because in the days of deserts in the Quran, it says in one of the verses, I'll go to it later on, but it says, the angel came to Maryam, may Allah be pleased with her. So the angel came to Maryam and said, get out into a remote area. So that remote area at the time, that was the desert. So in the desert, there was a palm tree with water, and the dates were like ripe. So during that time, Maryam alayhi salam, she conceived Isa alayhi salam, she conceived Jesus during that time, and that was not a winter time. So even if you look at the Bible, right, the shepherd had their flocks out, right? In Palestine, you're not allowed to have your flocks out in the winters. You're meant to bring them into your houses. But during the time of birth of Jesus, the flocks were outside. So that goes to show that Jesus was not born in the winter month. So where the concept of Christmas is actually coming from is paganism. So in paganism religion, back years ago, they used to believe that, that there was a sun god that was born during that time, because the people of the north, they lived in the winters. So they lived with full-on darkness, where people would have no electric, they'd have no heating, they'd have no gas, and people would be dying from diseases. So having the sun out once in a while gave them hope to say, okay, the sun's out, so this is a power, this is a force of us to live, if that makes sense. So that's that point of view of Christmas, but I will go back to that later on, because I do have an interesting topic to go through with everyone that's watching and listening today, and hopefully this will clarify any kind of doubts that why is Christmas what it is, was Jesus born on this day, what's the hidden stories behind Christmas in itself. Other than that, at the moment, especially in our countries, with England, Canada, America, even in Saudi Arabia right now. I remember there was a couple of years ago where on top of the Burj Khalifa, they had the Santa Claus climbing up. And that is meant to be our Islamic country. That's meant to be our Muslim country, where we go for pilgrim, where we go for Hajj, where the Quran was revealed. It was Saudi Arabia, right? And the same country nowadays celebrating Christmas. So I think what they're doing is misleading people in a very, very wrong way. And even with the scholars nowadays, they've made it permissible to wish Muslims Merry Christmas and non-Muslims Merry Christmas as well. But they don't know the fact behind it. They're making something that is haram into halal. So, for instance, if something's not mentioned in the Quran, and if you're adding it, right, that you call bid'ah. So what is bid'ah? Bid'ah is basically, let's say you're reading a text of the Quran, right, and something's not mentioned in it, but then I go and change that around and say, all right, but basically you're meant to do this, but it's not mentioned anywhere. That's me going against my religion. That's me going against my book. So I'm adding things that shouldn't be added. So that in Islam is prohibited. Another thing, children are made to believe that Santa Claus is going to come down from the chimney and, give children presents, and, work advise people, especially with us as well. We've been to work, and there's many a times in the offices where they've said, all right, it's a charity day for Christmas. We want you wearing Christmas jumpers or dressing up as a Rudolph or, you know, and I think that is just really, really out of order, because some Muslims will stand up for it and say, look, okay, it's going against my religion, I'm not going to do this. But then for the Muslims that do know and do it for the sake of keeping their work colleagues happy or keeping their friends happy, they're going against their religion, and that is committing shirk, right? Because by saying Merry Christmas, you're denying the oneness of Allah. You're comparing a partner with Allah, because you're saying the Son of God was born on the 25th of December, which is shirk, right? Putting behind Boxing Day, if you want to go Boxing Day, which is absolutely fine, you can go for the sales and stuff, because obviously you can go buy some, electrical things or clothing or shoes or whatever you want, right? That is absolutely permissible in Islam. But what is not permissible is wishing Merry Christmas and celebrating the New Year's when it's the 1st of January, because as Islam tells us, we have our Islamic calendar New Year's, and that's there for a very valid reason as well. So yeah, I think a lot of westernized countries have misled people, and I remember that in England back in time, celebrating Christmas was actually banned by the Church of England. I don't know when they started allowing people to celebrate it again, but it was banned in England for a very particular reason, of a man called Saint Nicholas, who basically was known as the devil in the north in the time, and it was his birthday. It was he that was born on the 25th of December, not Jesus. So at the moment, that's all I want to say. If you want to expand on anything, Areeb, if you don't understand anything, then you can ask me.
Yeah, I think with all that what you've said, I think with Muslims in the West, the problem is that I don't think all of them know the right from wrong either. So you can't.
Yeah.
It's not like we're here blaming them, saying what you're doing is wrong, doing that. But it's just more like we're guiding you, because these were things up till I'll say maybe a year ago I didn't even know. I didn't know.
Yeah.
Like you shouldn't wish non-Muslims Merry Christmas. You shouldn't wear the Christmas jumpers. All this because I didn't know what Christmas was. When you don't understand what like for example, if I was a non-Muslim, I wouldn't know what Eid is. Yeah, I might have some kind of image of what it is, but it's not going to be the exact until I've actually gone out and studied about Eid, studied about what time of the year it is, why to do it. Then you find the information to why and what and how everything works. And the same with Christmas.
Yeah.
When I found out, it started off with this. I think it was the Saint Nicholas story that actually that I listened to, and I was surprised because how they mentioned with the Rudolph and with how he was as a character. I mean,
as a person,
as a person, and it just it just didn't make sense. And obviously, and it felt like that they were trying to. I mean, they don't say Santa is Jesus. They don't say that. Santa is some other guy. So Santa is someone else.
Santa is believed to be a pious man who basically comes down worth of £400 or £500 worth of goods and put under your tree.
The Coca-Cola guy, who looks like a happy guy, but yeah. So it's basically all fiction the way I look at it with the Santa and stuff. It doesn't really make sense. But with Christmas itself, I mean, it's a topic where there's not going to be many Muslims out there that actually know about Christmas, which is the actual problem in itself. Because,
which is, I think it's really, really sad, to be honest, because first of all, when Muslims are told something,
would you blame them? Because nobody was there to tell them.
I wouldn't blame them, no. But what I would say as personally being a Muslim is, if you have a question arising in your mind, like me particularly, I've got a mind full of question marks, right? It never ends. Now, if I've got a question, rather than asking someone, right, or asking, let's say, the sheikh or asking someone else, I would personally go and read the Quran first and see what that says, and then see what the authentic hadiths say to find my answer. Because nowadays what's happening is, like Allah mentioned in the Quran, is that time will come where preachers and scholars will make things acceptable in Islam which are not permissible, and that days come now.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
And that's what's very sad, because at the end of the day, I'm not saying Muslims are wrong or they've got the wrong belief or they're doing wrong, and no one's perfect. I'm not saying anyone's perfect. I'm not perfect, right? But what I do suggest is, rather than following people that are going to mislead you and give you an understanding which you're not going to understand, listen to the Quran, read the Quran, and understand the Quran, because in there is your answers. You're not going to find your answers from anywhere else.
Yeah, I think what it is, I mean, the Quran is a complete book.
Yeah.
Don't add things into it, and don't leave things out either. And I think that's the simplest way to put it. I mean, when it comes to new things, rather than guessing, and like having like some just go into the Quran, see if it's not mentioned, leave it alone. I think that's the best thing to do. Just leave it alone.
Definitely. And what I'd like to mention on the back of that is, we're not here to judge any Muslims or to offend anyone or to offend Christians and their beliefs or any other beliefs. We're not here to offend you, right? We're here to give you dawah. We're here to guide you, to guide ourselves, in fact, right? Because what truth is something that you can't deny, right? So we're here to spread knowledge with you. We're taking our time out being here. Kenny's brought this show to life, and it's not like we're gaining any kind of thing out of it. We're not gaining any worldly benefit. We're all doing it for our hereafter. So if we're talking today, we're doing it for our reward in the hereafter, to guide you all, to to make you safe from the punishment of Allah, right? So we're not here to offend anyone, criticize anyone, or say I'm better than you or another person's better than the other. It's nothing like that. So that's one thing that I would like to mention. And another thing is, I've done a lot of research on Christmas. So I'd like to tell people the beginning of Christmas and how it all started. So Christmas began from the people of the North, like I explained earlier on. So they would celebrate different holidays and different occasions in the winter time. So it'd be like cold, and it was basically the solstice year. So that's what they celebrate, the solstice, the winter solstice. And that usually goes from around the 21st of December till the 6th of January approximately. So during this time, it's really cold in the north. So there's no heating, like I mentioned. There's people dying from diseases. The darkness is surrounded because it's winters. It's going to be dark. There's hardly no lighting, right? So this winter solstice, when the sun came out, the people basically looked at it as a life-giving force. So during that time, a number of celebrations were held in the northern countries. So far northeast, there was basically a celebration which was the 12 nights of the Feast of 12 Nights, which stretched from the December 25th till the 6th of January as well. So that's how Christmas began. And then moving forward, the Romans had the Saturnalia for the god Saturn. So that was another occasion or celebration that they celebrated. So people in the north had ceremonies that they would burn bonfire nights, because again, it was light, it was dark for them, there was no heat. So fire to them was a source of light. So you'd burn the fire, you'd warm up. At the same time, it's bringing light into your house. What more do you need, right? So because the light was so important, and the light and the fire was basically a force for them that worship nature, in the north they recognized one tree, so that despite it would be cold, it would still remain alive. So can you guess what tree that was that they found? Yeah, it was a fir tree. So basically, some would take the tree home, believing that there was powers of life within that particular tree. So they'd take it to the house, they'd put it down on the floor in the bedrooms or in the living rooms or whatever, decorate it up all nicely with gold and silver and everything all over it, and put a star on top of it, right? And basically they'd also put on mistletoes, which is very common here in England as well, especially when you go, let's say, to a shopping mall or anything like that, you'd see a big Christmas tree. And usually what they say to people is stand under the mistletoe. So a mistletoe that the people of the north put that time was on the front of the doors or in the houses. So that to us in Islam is coming back as a type of taveez, an amulet. So believing in an amulet is shirk for us, because we can't believe in an amulet, because we believe as Muslims that all the power, all the knowledge and everything that comes beyond and above comes from Allah. So we don't believe in none of that amulet stuff, right? So and they would hang it on the doors and the walls of the houses, hoping that the fir tree would protect them from the danger of the winters, because there were so many people dying anyway. So they'd think, you know, if I hang this on my doorway, it protect me and my household and my family from entering any kind of danger from the winter that the winter brings. So let's say windstorms or sandstorms or whatever you can think of that happens in the winter, it protects them from it. So their ceremonies developed around this, and it went on for hundreds of years. And after that, we also find in the ancient northern countries and the Druids of the north that they carried out a special ceremony surrounding the mistletoe and surrounding the fir tree. And they would meet within the circular areas of it, and they had a secretive cult that would spread far throughout the northern countries as well. So that's what the people of the north would do. So they'd bring the tree, right? They'd surround it in a circular area, and then they had the secretive cult. So one of the interesting individuals you can look up is a man named Mithra or Mithras, and he was a very mysterious character of the north. So when you look up history, you find that the individual called Mithra was born on the 25th of December. Okay, so this is the same day of the week that people celebrate Christmas, and his the day of the week he was born was a Sunday. It was the 7th day of the week. So he was meant to be a sun god, and they had special sacraments made up of bread and wine that they would make during this time. So that's the drink that they would make during the time, which was wine. And supposedly he died for the sins of people. So what does that tell? Does that bring back any kind of memory? Areeb?
Yeah, it does. I mean, when you were mentioning about the tree and them actually putting whatever they're called, and them little bulb type things,
Yeah.
and I remember, seeing them. But when you said like taweez, and I was thinking, whoa, like, you're literally hanging all these little things up, which you didn't. I mean, you wouldn't even think there's a meaning to it. You just think it's a tree, that we're decorating a tree, and this is it. I mean, it's just meant to be some fancy looking thing, but when it has so much meaning behind it, which, I don't think anyone really talks about, to be honest. I mean, that kind of surprised me as well when you mentioned that.
So what do you think about when I said the man born, Mithra, was born on the 25th of December, and they would prepare bread and wine, and supposedly he died for the sins of people. Doesn't that take you back to the beliefs of some Christians when they say Jesus died for the sins?
Because I've just searched Mithra up on Google, and it says the sun god is believed to be a mediator between God and man, between sky and the earth. So he's like the third guy. So there's man and there's God, and then he's the third guy. So when you said, doesn't that sound like what we're told about Jesus? Yeah, that sounds exactly the same. To be fair with you, it's the same thing.
Because if you ask a Christian, why did Jesus die? They'd say he was crucified. He died for the sins of people. Now, Mithra is the same. Apparently, he died for the sins of people. And when you're trying to find Mithra or Mithras through encyclopedias, they state that intervention and they erase that name. So through the straight interventions, they erase the name of Mithra, so you can't find it basically. And I think the whole story's been changed around. So they don't.
Yeah,
I think
it
the
does sound like the
times.
story of Mithra because he's definitely born on the 25th of December. I mean, that's one fact. Secondly, he was like, the middle guy between God and man. That's another thing that's like, that sounds similar. And,
Yeah.
sun God, like it just, I don't know what to say. It does sound the same. It definitely sounds the
And
same.
I think the reason why it was erased is because after the time of Jesus, Isa alayhi salam, when the message began to spread and they went to the north, you'll see within historical writings that Barnabas, one of the disciples, met a man named Saul or Paul, and later called Paul. He said that he saw Jesus on Damascus Road and then went to the disciples, but then they turned around against Paul because they basically disbelieved him. And only Barnabas stayed with him. But when Paul and Barnabas went to Greece, Barnabas left him. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Ramzi.
Alaikum.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Continue. I'm just listening.
Thank you. Okay, so somewhere in the earlier days, either Rome or Greece, those missionaries that were teaching the teachings of Jesus met with the force coming from the north. So you can see in the ancient Roman history that in some cases the Roman emperors would go out to colosseums and the gladiators would be fighting each other and everybody would be like cheering for the gladiators. But during that time they would go to the colosseum and basically watch the fights that would happen, and if one of the gladiators go down, they would look at the emperor and they'd basically ask him like, should I kill him? So if the emperor said yeah, then he'd put like a hand sign, a hand gesture to point downwards, or to keep him alive he'd point upwards. So that basically gave like an indication like kill or save, basically, right? And one of the terrible things that happening during these rituals of at the Colosseum is that they would bring the Christians out with the women and the children and feed them to hungry animals. They would take them to the wolf or a lion and get it all hungry and crazy and beat it and throw raw meat at it and then make it come after humans at the time of the when all this was happening. And then
were these the pagans that were doing all this? What would you say with the Christians? How they were feeding them to the lions?
Well, no, because it was a pagan thing. The Christians were actually brought out to be fed to the animals. So it wasn't Christians at the time, because that's what the people of the north believed, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that sounds horrible.
Yeah, so they would literally cheer up and watch the animals rip the bodies apart. And it's a terrible culture. It's just disgusting. Like, can you imagine, like, imagine all this going on just now, and imagine people cheering for someone to go and rip someone's, for an animal to go rip someone's body apart. It's disgusting. That's absolutely terrible. That's unacceptable. And somewhere along the line, somebody who couldn't take the torture, who felt maybe we can win these people over a compromise and changes. The changes actually started growing from the earlier part of Christian era. So in the southern Europe, where major ceremonies were held by the nature worshipping people, are combined with Christian names and Christian ceremonies, and therefore what comes out both to us is a mixture with two streams coming together, where you get a monotheistic name or a character, right? Or with a pagan ceremony. The mixture together is what is giving us the present day holidays. So the mixture of the Christians at the time and that compromise that they did, and the mixture of what the people of the North believe, gives us the present day holiday. So that is what's creating Christmas today, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Do you understand? Is there any questions?
No, I understand that. Yeah. So it hasn't changed over time. Then it's pretty
Well,
much
it-
the same.
Well, it has changed, because if you ask some people now that why are you celebrating Christmas, they'd say,
Yeah.
"Oh, it's just a holiday. We don't believe anything about it." Well, yeah, some people might say,
Yeah. I think.
that Jesus was
Yeah.
born, but nowadays
Mhm.
it's just a thing where people get together and just have a few drinks, and
Mhm.
that's about it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like with what you said about Christmas, like how it's supposed to be celebrated with people around the trees and all these things that you're saying. Nobody does that. It's more like an innocent, fancy thing where nobody really knows what's going on or why they're doing it. It's just a bit of fun, and I think
Yeah.
that's what the most of the world. It's just a bit of fun.
It's just an excuse to party.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, it does though. Yeah, I think it does. I mean, when you think about Christmas, when I think about Christmas, I think about sales. I think about spending money.
Yeah, man, you kidding me?
New Year's is coming, so you're just thinking, it's just one of them times where you just want to be happy and grateful for whatever the years, gave to you. And I think it's just naturally a happy time. But then to add Christmas into it is just, it doesn't really make a difference, because either way, you'd expect that time of the year for the lights to be open, everyone just to be happy. It's cold, just getting by. So I think with this pagan holiday, that's why it stayed there. It's never moved, because it was just one of them things that it was already there, and in a happy time, nobody wants to change anything. When it's happy, then nobody wants to change it.
But what you got to understand, that it wasn't a happy time, because the
No,
people of the
but then now why it's not being changed is because like I said, with the sales, people are busy. Like, we're innocent. It's all innocence. Nobody's like you said with how they used to do it. It's like going there and taking your time out to actually go into this tree and do your whatever you've got to do. Now it's more like we're in
rituals,
the
yeah.
shopping center. The Christmas tree is just there as a decoration piece. There's nothing to think about. There's nothing about it. There's nothing that like I'm gonna go up to the Christmas tree and touch it or anything like that. So it's just, I think that's what's actually happened. And with
Yeah.
Christmas, like it drives in sales. Look at the world we live in today. It's about the money. Today it's all about the money. So when
It's
it comes
the most
to,
profitable time of the year.
it is,
Yeah.
yeah, of course.
You know the song
Yeah.
that I'm not going to sing that song, obviously, but you know how that song goes, right? They should change it to most profitable time, because it is.
Yeah,
It is.
Yeah.
it is, yeah. And
Yeah.
I think, and it's one of the most happiest times. December, I'd say, stress, it starts, everyone's in this buzz. I mean, even if they're not celebrating Christmas, they're still in this happy mood. Like New Year's is starting, whatever. But when Safiyyah was saying about the Islamic calendar, why we don't celebrate New Year's and stuff, I mean, that again makes sense. But I think what's happened is many of us are not actually looking at the Islamic calendar how I would say it. We're not really following it, and including myself, I'd say. I think I need to get in the habit of seeing where we're up to with that, because with this calendar, it's in the face, and you know which day is what time it is. It's like a global thing. Whereas with the Islamic calendar, it's like, do we just use it for Eid? Do we just use it for prayers and that's it?
I think the number one thing that we should understand is that Isa alayhi Islam, according to different reports and different scholars, in many religions, he was not born in the cold season, and history actually proves that he was born during the warm weather. Even the Christian traditions, they have a belief that the shepherd were basically tending their flocks outside. So, like I mentioned previously when the video started, that if it was cold, people in Palestine, the shepherds, they're not allowed to leave their flocks outside, right? But during that season, they were outside. So that just goes to prove that that's not true. That's just something that's just been made up. And yeah, it was also a time where the taxes were introduced in the north as well, if you know about that.
No, I don't know about that actually, no.
So that was one of the times as well. So from the Quran, chapter 19 and verses 24 and 25, it says, and we see the mention of the story of Maryam, because it's a belief of Muslims that Maryam alayhi salam, may Allah be pleased with her, was basically living in her home, and she was living as a virgin, and she dedicated her life to worship one God, pray and fast. And from the power of Allah that was breathed into her, the Spirit was breathed into her, she conceived Jesus, Isa alayhi salam. And he said, be and it is, without a father, without a man. That is the belief of Islam. So also a belief that when she felt the pain of her pregnancy, the angel came to her and she said, go outside to an area which is remote. And they found a palm tree and water. And it was speaking about Rutab Jania, I think it is called, Rutab Jania. It's a type of Rutab, or a type of date that was there. And those that live in deserts, desert areas, would always know this anyway, that when the dates become ripe, when you see the colours of the dates actually change, because the dates are not always brown. They can be red, they can be yellow, right? And other colours as well. But they turn brown, and when they turn brown is at the highest of heat, so that the dates become ripe. So at the time that she gave birth to Isa alayhi salam, from the different points of views, from different historical points of views and different religious point of views, we understand that Isa alayhi salam was not born in winter. So now the question is, who was born in the winter then? Why is it celebrated? Because if you look in many Christmas decors in people's houses, they'd have a basket of, an idol kind of thing of Mary and Jesus together, right? So if Jesus wasn't born on Christmas, who was? So that's what it boils down to.
So it's that Mithra, isn't it?
Mithra,
yeah, who was born.
And also, if you don't mind, you mentioned the birth of Jesus, how Mary, when she gave birth to Jesus. There's actually something most people aren't aware of. Bethlehem, which I've been to, the city they say he was born, is directly south of Jerusalem. The Quran says, this is just what the Quran says. The Quran says she went east of Jerusalem when she gave birth.
Right.
That's just a quite interesting thing, because actually yesterday, because my mom watches a lot of Arabic TV shows, they were showing on the news the celebrations going on in Bethlehem and in Jerusalem, because there's a significant Christian number of Christians living in Palestine, amongst the Muslims and the Jews who are living there. But and she was showing me, they were dancing, holding up their crosses, doing. I've been to Bethlehem. I've seen it all, and I'm just like, it's quite interesting. Most Muslims are actually not even aware that Jesus wasn't. That Jesus, according to the Quran, was not actually born in Bethlehem. I've actually seen the spot where they say he was born. They actually walk up and they kiss it. Right.
Wow.
I think I've seen that in a documentary as well. I think I have seen that. What you're mentioning.
Sorry.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
There's a place where they say where Mary used to breastfeed him. There's a place where they say he was exactly born. They say this was where it's just it's quite amazing. And actually, I'm not gonna pretend like I read some book and I found that out. I found this out when I was in Bethlehem, because in Bethlehem there's actually the Mosque of Omar radiallahu anhu, because he actually visited Bethlehem when the Muslims conquered Palestine. he visited Bethlehem and Jerusalem. There's actually a mosque there where he prayed. And when I was and actually I spoke with I spoke with the sheikh. I was like, hey, assalamu alaikum, I'm visiting from the States, this and that. He's like, and he kind of jokingly told me, he's like, and by the way, you do know, like, a long story, because I had a conversation with, like, you do know he wasn't born here, right? And I was like, wait, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, the Quran and such says that she went east. I'm like, well, damn. That's
interesting, actually. That's very interesting.
I felt kind of bad because my sisters were like, oh, this is where Jesus was born. So I mean, it's pretty nice to visit this place. And I'm just like, yeah, sorry to shatter your dreams, but yeah, he wasn't. It's just quite just. It was a bit of a like a kind of moment. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was quite amazing.
When you try, you don't really, if someone tells you this is this, you don't really question it until, obviously after you come back from your holiday, then you think to yourself, what's all this about? You'll search on Google and, pinpoint things and eventually come to a conclusion. And I think that's what it is. I mean, like you said, if you didn't travel there, then you would not have known.
No, absolutely not.
So that was, thank you for sharing that with us, actually, because, we didn't know that actually they claim it to be like where, all these things happened when pretty much they didn't.
Absolutely, yeah.
But again, that might be one of them business tactic things, who knows?
I just want to say, I'm not going to name him, but there's a bit of a naysayer in the live chat. You're welcome to join this is actually what Kenny said. He's like, you're welcome to join the panel because this person claimed that Christmas was the celebration of the coming of the Messiah. Really? I come on here and tell us that. Bro, come on here and tell us that, man. Come on, seriously.
Wow. Yeah, surely join him. Join him.
That's something I didn't know. Wow.
Because that's something, the first time I've actually heard that Christmas is a celebration of a Messiah coming. I don't
even think most pastors would agree with that. Like if they knew maybe not. Well, if they knew their facts, I mean, like if they want to be politically correct, they would say that. But like anyone, no academic would say that.
Yeah, definitely. Well, according to all this pagan tradition that holds, it was all to do with the birth of God and not for the coming Messiah. So, yeah, if you want to jump on, just jump on and explain your point. And maybe we can
explain why it took it took until the year 350 AD for Pope Julius II to decide that, oh, by the way, Jesus was actually born on the 25th. Like it took them until 350 to know that. Like,
wow.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing from the Bible that mentions that. That just kind of adds insult to injury, to be honest. Because even if the Bible were to say in black and white, look, Jesus was born on the 25th, that wouldn't mean anything to us Muslims, because as far as we're concerned, the Bible is not a reliable source of information. But the fact that it's not the fact that it's not in the Bible just kind of adds insult to injury.
Yeah. And just according to that, there is a point that I will point out where there is a bit in the Bible that is correct. So I will point that out, and if that makes a difference to anyone's thoughts, then it does. Okay, so we was asking like who was born in winter. So first of all, you need to understand the concept of Saturn when it comes to this question. Okay, and the concept of Bacchus, when they are portrayed by different artists who drew the pictures of sculptures, they're usually portrayed as heavy-set men with white beard. And when Sistine Chapel, Michelangelo, I think it was, drew his picture, you could see the long flowing beard, and there's actual pictures of this man on a sledge being drawn by a snake with wings. So now this sounds crazy, right? A snake with wings, because snakes don't fly. But this man was drawn on a sledge by a snake with wings, and basically the heaviest set man is on the sledge being drawn with that flying animal, and he's performing miracles, and he's coming out on the 25th of December. So as far as going back to school and what we've been taught,
Santa Claus,
we've been told Santa comes on a sledge, and the flying Rudolphs. So does this mean that the flying snakes are the flying Rudolphs?
Possibly.
Good question, right? Okay, so and that again is not a birthday of Jesus. It's not a birthday of Isa al-Islam, and it's got nothing to do with him, nothing to do with Christianity. And at the time of Bacchanal and the Saturnalia, and basically, I think he represents rioters fun. So I think that's what the Saturn god represented. And the people of the north at that time were drunk in ivory, so in revelry. And so what happened in Christmas reasons is especially that in America, people today are not even thinking about Jesus. So when you look outside, when you look into our westernized countries, let's say example, England or Canada or America again, right? What usually happens on Christmas is just a day where people take time off of work, go see their friends and family, maybe go out, hang out in the pubs and clubs and bars, right?
Yeah,
Jesus is not remembered. Isa al-Islam is not remembered anywhere.
That's true. Yeah, it's a party time. Yeah.
Yeah, so they're not even thinking about Jesus, and they're being drunk at the time. So if they offer Christmas puddings or meals, I'd say be careful, because in Christmas puddings and in Christmas meals, not all the time it's shown, but usually because of the pagan tradition and the rituals that they used to follow, that, you know, when I said earlier on, beginning when I started this conversation, was they had set up when Mithra was born, they used to drink wine and have bread, and then say this man died for the sins of people. So in the Christmas puddings or Christmas meals or whatever it is, they probably include rum and wine as well, because that's their tradition that they're following.
Yeah, I think with Christmas, it is a lot about alcohol. It has a lot to do with alcohol, this December period.
Yeah, and the riotous occasion went so far that the Christian church banned it, and the Church of England, according to historical sources, was banned till I think it was 1647. It was prohibited in England to celebrate Christmas, so it was not allowed whatsoever. The celebration was completely stopped because they saw Christmas as being a pagan holiday. Official step taken was by the Church of England, that time was known as Puritans. So that's who basically banned the Christmas festival in England in 1647, was a Church of Puritans.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a question?
So do you mind if I add something?
Yeah.
No. So okay. So I normally don't do this, but I have to say something. Okay. So somebody, I'm not going to say who, had blurted out the idea that Christmas was the celebration of the coming of the Messiah. We're not going to name this person. And they said Muslims can celebrate this too. Okay, look, look. If you want to be ignorant about your own religion, that's fine, but leave Islam out of it. In Islam, we don't celebrate the births of prophets.
Yeah.
Nor the Prophet Muhammad SAW explicitly forbade the worshiping of his own birthday. You think we're gonna go worship all the other prophets, their birth? We're gonna go celebrate their birthdays? Come on, guys, get real.
When you think about
and also he said, celebrate the coming of the Messiah. Okay. Simple question. Why did it take until 350 AD to decide that the 25th was the day that they should celebrate that? 2, why is it coincidentally the same day Mithras was born and the same day that the pagans would celebrate and do all these go on a mad run in the streets? Just you I don't know, man. I'm like
I think with that I think whoever it is really needs to come online and discuss this with us, or set up like another time of a debate, because this is all facts. What we're saying here is all facts. If the Church of England banned Christmas, it was for a particular reason. Do you think England knew? Do you think the Church of England or the Pope that decided to ban Christmas during this time would ban it if a Messiah was to come? You know what I was trying to say? Why would you ban it? That's the question. There's no logic in that.
So I gotta stop blurting out. I'm really sorry.
It's okay. But again, like if you do want to discuss it, then if you're listening and watching this, then just jump online and just explain your point of view. What makes you think that? Where does it say? In which bit of the Bible, in which scriptures is it written that is a celebration of Messiahs? Because even we'd be interested to know that.
I'm
Okay.
dead. I'm dead. This person just commented, the date is not important.
Why is it not important? Because every date is important. According to the Quran, we have dates for everything.
No, forget that. Like celebrating the birth of your God, isn't that kind of important? You do that on the right day. I mean, come on, man.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you imagine you celebrated your mom's birthday like 6 months early. Like, hey, mom, happy birthday.
Yeah.
How you doing? Imagine you did that. Imagine you did that for your God. I mean, man, I'm dead. I'm dying.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Don't mind me. I'm just.
I think the fact that the person saying that it doesn't hold any kind of weight to say what they're saying, because yeah, date should be important with anything, and yeah, with that it doesn't really hold much weight or logic in what's behind it.
Hey, mama, when was your birthday again? It's like, imagine saying that to your mother. Your mother. Now imagine saying that to God.
Yeah,
Oops.
no, this is not right. So yeah, and sorry, during these days, I'm just going back to it again. Okay, I was just reading the comments, sorry. So as an individual, so an individual was superimposed at the name of and the name of the superimposed person was Saint Nicholas. So who was Saint Nicholas? He himself actually coming from the ancient writings of Beowulf. These writings are done in the Scandinavian region, where the name Nick or Nickel or Nickers, he was known as a demon, and the demon of the north, right? So he was basically the evil spirit of the north. The name of at the name of Odin, he was always also known as, and they used to call it the evil principle in Germany. And the many northern countries, people actually looked up on this person called Saint Nick as being the evil, and would tell their children that, you know, if you see this man in the winters, don't go outside or don't go near him, because if you do, then Nickel is going to come and take you away and capture you in his bag and take you. And in, I think it's Isaiah, I think it was the bit of the Bible. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing the name right, but I think it's Isaiah. In the Bible, chapter 14.13, the devil is known as a prince of darkness, and understanding that his throne and seat of his power is in the north. Now that is what is saved of the Bible. So the Bible does mention this.
Wow.
Okay, and German, basically they described him to be a person that would wear a red coat with fur on it, and they called him Pels Nicholas, or meaning in German's Pels Nicholas means basically the furry coat devil, so the furry devil.
Wow.
And the base was in the north, and he was an essence of the evil again. And this proves that Christmas occasion was the time of evil. It was, you know, Christmas was made with evil intentions. So believe in the Saturnalia and Bacchania, and because of this, they basically shifted the occasion to New Year's Eve and the evil to New Year's Eve. So basically, because it was starting to be banned in many countries and many people knew the concept behind the Saint Nicholas, or Satan Nicholas, I would say Satan Nicholas, because if he was a devil, then there should be nothing wrong with me saying that he's a devil, and that is Satan Nicholas, okay? So the concept behind it, they basically moved it aside. So they brushed it off under the carpet and said, okay, let's just combine it with New Year's, so people don't really look more into it. So when nowadays people celebrate Christmas, they don't look at Christmas as what they used to back in the pagan days. They actually look at it as a celebration onto the coming of New Year's. Does that make sense? So it's all basically a pack of, you know, a bunch of lies that we are brainwashed to, or children are brainwashed to, with schools and media and, you know, all these music videos and whatnot. They're all brainwashed to say, you know what, Santa Claus is an innocent person, Saint Nicholas is an innocent person. And many of the times people say, oh, Santa Claus is fiction, and, you he's a made-up character. Well, no, he's not, because Saint Nicholas is Santa Claus, and Saint Nicholas is the demon of the north. So how is he made up?
And also something, if you mind if I mention about Saint Nicholas. Saint Nicholas was one of the main members of the Council of Nicaea. For those who aren't aware, the Council of Nicaea is where the church in the year 325 if I'm not mistaken, 325 AD, where they first firmly established the doctrine that Christ was co-equal with God. Because obviously, for the first few centuries, there were Christians believing all sorts of things. In fact, most of them were actually Unitarians, believing they didn't believe Christ was in any way God. Some believed he was God. Some believed he was just a man. Some believed it was just a mystery. There were all sorts of beliefs, but it was in 325 when the Catholics took over at the Council of Nicaea, and they firmly established that Christ was co-equal with God the Father. Because most church fathers before had been subordinationists. They believed that he was God in some sense. He was divine, but he wasn't co-equal with God. He wasn't God with a capital G. But then St. Nicholas was one of the primary members of that, or one of the biggest members of that council. And he, after that council, was one of the greatest perpetrators of causing lots of harm and destruction to the Unitarian churches. Afterwards, because afterwards it became illegal to not be a Catholic, obviously. And so he was one of the people, one of the biggest. He basically became the equivalent of what Paul was to the Christians in the first century. Paul was persecuting the Christians.
Paul or Saul,
He caused so much harm and destruction to the Unitarian churches. And it's when I see people lining up at the mall to take pictures with the with the scent in there, I just oh my God, I actually become quite offended when I see. I mean, obviously most people aren't aware of that. We have to be fair here, but I've become quite offended by the history of these customs, that someone who distorted the message of Christ, someone who took a human being and raised him to the level of God, or was one of the people who had done that, and then not only that, went on a killing spree, persecuting the people who rejected that. I become quite offended when I see people like that portrayed as some fun jolly guy with a bunch of with a big sack of presents, taking pictures with the kids. SubhanAllah, it's a scam. It's on a global level.
What's surprising is how long this scam has actually come along.
Gone on for
years and years and years. Even till this day, there's still debates happening about this topic.
I think what happens is, the way it works is, the ignorance of people is what makes this go on forever. Because first of all, I'm not saying every single person is ignorant. Some people genuinely don't know what's right and what's wrong. But that's why we have Bibles. That's why we have the Quran. That's why, in many religions, they have their own books and scriptures that they can go and follow. And if you read it carefully, and if you understand the means of it, it's all going to boil back down to Islam again. Every single religion directs you straight back onto the final messenger, which is Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? So it's the ignorance of people. So nowadays, there's Muslims, our own Muslims, that are celebrating Christmas more than these people that should be celebrating Christmas, if that makes sense. So there's more Muslims that have got Christmas trees in the house, that get dressed up to go out, that have Christmas meals, Christmas drinks and whatnot, Christmas presents. Why are you teaching your children that? And your kids are innocent, right? Obviously, as a kid, when I saw Christmas and when I saw the children getting presents, I also thought, what, Christmas is a really good festive thing. So I also wanted presents and stuff as well. But this also comes, it all comes down to the parents as well, that, rather than hiding the truth from your kids and them growing up to believe Christmas as a festive, as an innocent festive, and, taking it on to their offsprings as well, tell them the truth behind it, what Christmas actually is, if you know. right? Because everyone in everyone's life, there will be a chance where this topic will go around, and they can find out their own answers of their own research, or either they can come and ask people that give dawah on these kind of topics, or anything. But what really, really hurts me nowadays is Muslims especially are being misled by these scholars in many countries by making up and adding and subtracting things from the Quran. So they're adding things like, oh, it is permissible, because what they basically say is, okay, I'm wishing Merry Christmas because a prophet told me and taught us to be kind and to use good words towards other people, right? Muslim or non-Muslim. But what you got to remember is the prophet also said that if there's an act of sin, do not be a part of that.
Yeah.
Right? Do not be a part of that. So when you're saying, I feel rude for not saying Merry Christmas to my work colleagues or my friends when they wish me Eid or Ramadan Mubarak, they don't have to wish you Eid or Ramadan. You're not forcing them to wish you it. That's their choice. And the same way, when you wish them Merry Christmas, you should think about your own religion first. You should think about what your religion teaches you, what your prophet has said to you, what Allah has said to you, and the concept behind Christmas, and then accordingly do it. Because I had a couple of messages as well where I've had Merry Christmas messages from work colleagues. It's okay to respond with something like, have a good weekend or have a good time off, but don't stay away from the lines of wishing Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, because that New Year's for Muslims, it's not our New Year's. Our New Year's has gone. We follow the Islamic calendar. This is again a pagan created festival. Why? To brush underneath the truth of Christmas and the existence of Christmas.
Yeah, I think when you said about the scholars and them actually making, saying that, you can, it's okay to say Merry Christmas and stuff. Like I said, nowhere does it say that in the Quran. When they use the saying of the Prophet, they say, the Prophet said, wish well to others, but not when it's their festivals and stuff. It doesn't say that anywhere. So I think it's more like just they think it's a way of being nice to people. So, if, for example, if I was Christian and we were all friends and I was the odd Christian out, you have to say Merry Christmas to me and whatnot. But you don't celebrate it, When Jews have their festival, we don't go up to them and congratulate them. When Chinese have their festival, we don't go up to them and say Happy New Year whenever it is for them. All these things happen. We have obviously they're celebrating it. We wish them a good day, and that's about it. And it's same when it's Eid. We're not expecting anyone to come up to us especially and say Eid Mubarak to us. We know it's Eid, and that's good enough for us. And I think with trying to be this extra nice, and then what you're doing is you're adding more things on. You're not
adding things on, but then you're committing shirk.
Yeah.
Because you could say how if someone says to you Merry Christmas, and then you could end up saying Merry Christmas too. But then if you know the concept behind Christmas, if you know that these people, when Christmas actually started, right, they believe that the Son of God was born on the 25th of December. So that in itself, by saying Merry Christmas, is you congratulating them to say, congratulations, the Son of God's been born.
Yeah.
So that's what it means, right? And when they say, God forgot his son or begot his son, right? Allah never begets his son, and neither is begotten, right? Allah doesn't have no partner. Allah alone is the king of the heavens and the earth and everything inside it. There is no more, right? So as Muslims, don't try to be nice and lose your own iman, I'd say, because shirk is literally unacceptable in Islam. Having partners other than Allah is just a big no-no, right? You don't know what kind of a major sin you're doing, and by saying, yeah, I know, and just brushing it off and thinking, oh, forget about it, I'm not going to listen to what it actually is, you're committing a big sin. At the end of the day, it's not going to affect me in my hereafter, because I know what's wrong and right. But if someone's telling you, and if someone's telling you the reason of why it's been a sin and the reason behind it, then I think you should agree it and save yourself from the punishment. Because having friends here or having colleagues here and wishing them, it's not a big deal. You can just say, have a good holiday. You don't have to go extreme and follow the westernized culture. You can just be yourself, be a nice person. No one's saying don't be a good person, be humble, follow the teachings of your prophet. As he said, be nice to the disbelievers and the believers. Okay, you can wish them anything that is worldly, but do not have a partner with Allah. Do not make that partner with Allah. That's the worst that you can do. And there's another question that I've been asked a lot by reverts as well, is that if my parents celebrate Christmas, can I say Merry Christmas to them and buy them Christmas presents? No, you can't, because that again falls back down to you believing that Allah has a son, right? That is shirk. You cannot do that. You don't need to give gifts. You don't need to take gifts. You don't need to take part in any of the celebrations, right? Be yourself. Be nice to your parents. Respect your parents, but keep yourself away from what is prohibited. And I think, that's the only message that I'd like to say. And if Kenny wants to join on the show and speak about something, then that would be really interesting as well, and get to know his point of view on the show today as well.
Or maybe some of these naysayers can join the live stream. I'd appreciate that.
Yeah.
No, seriously, they're going crazy, man. Oh, man.
I'm not really following the comments.
I can't see the chat.
Trust me, I've got two monitors, so it just makes it easier for me. But
oh, bless you. No, I'm using my phone, so I can't see the comments. But
fair enough.
Yeah, where's Brother Kenny?
Kenny will be coming.
He actually, one thing he wanted to mention earlier, just a fun fact: more alcohol is sold during Christmas than any other time in the year. Not surprising, but interesting.
Yeah, that's not surprising. No.
I mean, what else?
You'd think it'll be in the summers when the football games and everyone's playing sports, but it's not. It's actually December. Crazy.
Yeah, I think the whole point of Christmas and things is like Brother Rumsey said, it's just used as a business now. And yeah, by the way, another thing on the back of that is, if you're a Muslim and you're running a business and you're putting sales on for Boxing Day, then that is also forbidden, because you're making profit out of what is haram. So don't do that. You can go shopping, you can buy stuff that you need, because obviously everything's half price and discounted. But if you're selling things out of your business to people, obviously people that don't follow Islam or follow Islam, and you're calling that a Boxing Day sale, that is still part of Christmas. So don't do that. That's forbidden. And yeah, I do hope that people follow this knowledge. And if there's any questions, then just pop up and ask, because I've got a page on Facebook as well, so Safiyyah Islamic. They can come and ask on there. They can privately message me. I don't mind at all, but just stop yourself from doing the wrong things. That's the whole point of it. Like, save yourself. This world doesn't mean nothing. It's just temporary. It's here today and it's gone tomorrow. So don't take it too serious. It's all a part of a worldly life, and just follow your deen, follow your Islam, follow your Quran, because that's the truth. That's the true religion. That's the most truest that it can possibly get. All your answers are in there. Don't
Absolutely.
think Ken. Oh, Kenny's there.
The cavalry has arrived.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. Okay, so listen, a beautiful show, very informative, and it boils down to seeking knowledge. And unfortunately, what happens is a lot of times people are conformed, and they base their beliefs on social constructs. And these social constructs with people that have various worldviews and so forth, all meshed into one. And, you begin to accept things based on the interactions that you have with people in society and people who are close to you and so forth. And you begin to accept things that many times you shouldn't, and it's all based on the people who are influencing you to accept these things. And so it boils down to getting an education and seeking knowledge about these things. And if there's something within your religion that you have a question about, surely you should seek knowledge about that. And if you're a Christian and you've ever wondered, or a Muslim for that matter, you ever wondered what this whole Christmas thing is about, or you wonder what Ramadan is about, or you wonder what this or that is about, surely you should stop and take time to seek knowledge about it, and question why it is that you believe what you believe. Are you believing simply based on blind faith because it's something that the rest of society is promoting and you just fall in line with it? Or are you basing your opinion and your beliefs on something that you have sought knowledge about and you've looked into yourself? The reality is that in order to gain knowledge about these things, you have to spend time to do it. And most people don't want to. Nowadays, people don't like to read. People don't like to seek knowledge. I'm not saying, obviously there's people out there that do, but the vast majority of the people are simply concerned with paying the light bill, and they're concerned with this problem and that problem and so forth. And so therefore they don't take time to seek knowledge properly. And that's where the problem lies. Because if you start looking into this thing and you study the whole history of how Christmas came about and so forth, you will indeed see, without a question, with no doubt whatsoever, if you take time to study this, you will see that it stems from pagan influence. There is no question about it. And, so you shouldn't be offended at the messenger who's bringing this information. You should take the information, and if you don't believe what's being stated, if you don't believe what Sister Safiyyah and Brother Areeb have said during the course of the show, then challenge yourself to look the information up yourself. And once you do, you're going to see that what they've stated is true. Obviously, that they didn't sit around and conspire and try to just come up with this stuff just to talk about just for the sake of talking about it. No, they've sought knowledge about these matters, and they've spent time and put forth effort in order to look this information up, and it's readily available for anyone who wants to do the same. If you don't believe what they've been saying, then challenge yourself to go ahead and look the information up yourself. And if you do, without a doubt, you will see that the pagan influence is there, and that is how this whole Christian Christmas thing came about. And for the Muslims who are falling in line with that, you got to remember, okay, so the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when they go back to Mecca after they've been run out of Mecca, had to flee to Medina for 13 years, they returned to Mecca, and what do? They destroyed the idols and so forth, all the stones and statues and all the false gods and deities from all the surrounding area that were accepted. Why? Because of the convergence of all these different ideas and worldviews, and the acceptance of not only your God, but other people's gods as well. Okay, and the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Muslims come back 10,000 strong, and they destroy these idols and these false gods and so forth that are around the Kaaba. And if you, in modern times, are falling in line with the celebration of Christmas and so forth, you're doing nothing different than idolatry, the idolatry that was being committed in that time when they destroyed the stones and the statues of the false gods. And we should symbolically or based on our faith, we should still be destroying these stones and statues and saying La ilaha illallah, that there's only one God. And so we're not gonna worship and even in any small way practice the celebration of some God man. And this is no offense to Isa ibn Maryam. He wasn't a God man. That's why Allah's going to question him on the Day of Judgment. Say, Isa, son of Mary, did you say to the people to worship me and your mother, to worship you and your mother as gods? And Jesus, peace be upon him, Isa ibn Maryam, is going to say, oh, no, Allah, I would never say such a thing. And if I had said such a thing, you would know it, because you know what's in my heart, and I do not know what's in yours. Of a surety, I never said such a thing. And, so Jesus himself, it's no offense, we're not trying to be offensive to Jesus by no means. The fact of the matter is that what we're trying to do is defend Allah against people associating partners with Allah in any small way. And if you're worshiping, or you're not worshiping, but if you're celebrating the birth of a so-called God man, then you are committing shirk, even if it's minor shirk. Even if it's not intentional, it is a form of shirk. It's minor shirk. It's not major shirk, because that would be obviously worshiping someone other than Allah. That's major shirk. But there's also what's called minor shirk, and that is associating partners with Allah in any form or fashion. As they mentioned earlier, I think someone mentioned about the amulets, any kind of good luck charms and things of that nature. That's minor shirk. You're not worshiping this thing, but if you're attributing some type of prosperity, or maybe seeking forgiveness through this amulet, or good luck through an amulet, or this idol, or so forth, then you're committing minor shirk, even if you're not worshiping this thing directly. So as Muslims, we have to be very cautious about this, because we're undermining. If you're practicing Christmas, you're totally undermining the whole process of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam going and destroying all these idols. A matter of fact, a Christian scholar by the name of William Durant, you know what he says? He says that Christianity did not destroy paganism; it adopted it. On the other hand, Islam, it doesn't matter how many times that the non-Muslims say that the Muslims are worshiping the Kaaba and so forth. That's incorrect. We're not worshiping the Kaaba. But the fact of the matter is, Islam did indeed destroy paganism, and it continues to destroy paganism. And shows like this and discussions like this are evidence of that. This is jihad against pagan influence on society. Okay, and that pagan influence is deeply embedded, and Christianity and the Bible itself is drowning and just saturated with pagan influence. As a matter of fact, if you don't believe that, I'm going to prove that, inshallah, God willing, on January the 15th, when I engage in this debate about who is Jesus God with Reverend Samuel Green, and I'm going to talk about these things. The pagan influence is just deeply just drowning Christianity and the Bible, drowning in pagan influence. And the Christmas holiday is one of the main evidences of that. And so have a question in your mind. You think someone's made a wrong and incorrect statement, then do some research. Don't just talk about it, be about it. Do some research and prove us wrong. Prove Sister Safiyyah wrong. Prove Brother Areeb wrong. Prove Brother Ramzi wrong. The facts are there, and they're waiting for you to look them up, inshallah.
Or maybe just join the stream and stop spamming.
Yeah, if you want to have a discussion, we can bring you on, have a friendly discussion. Take your time, explain to us where the mistakes have been made, if you think there are mistakes, and let's take it from there. But
Kenny, did you hear the part where they said the day doesn't matter?
Yeah, I did hear that.
I was dying on the inside, man. It's like I challenge you to celebrate your mom's birthday 6 months before and go, "Happy birthday, mom," or imagine you go up to your wife and say, "Wife, happy wedding anniversary, honey. We got married like 4 months ago. What are you talking about? Our wedding anniversary was 4 months ago. What are you talking about?" Imagine that, man. Now imagine doing that to your God.
Yeah, or celebrated 6 months early or six months late, for that matter. And,
right.
And either one. I mean, if this is who you believe is God, peace be upon Jesus, Isa ibn Maryam, I would be offended if I was a Christian. I was a Christian, and all the emphasis is put on Santa Claus instead of Jesus, peace be upon him. So you have to question why these things come about. Now, the book in the book of Jeremiah, in regards to the Christmas tree, we mentioned the other day, I can't remember the verse off the top of my head right now, but there's a verse in Jeremiah that Jeremiah specifically 10, talks about, I think it is chapter 10. Matter of fact, it mentions it twice, chapter 10, and I think
not sure where else. I think I
I
know
can't
it's
remember, but it's there's two times it's mentioned stating that do not be like those who are vain and who chop down the tree with their axes and then carve the tree with their axe and then nail it to where it cannot be moved and then decorate it with gold and silver and so forth and bring these gifts and these offerings to it.
Wow.
This is pagan influence. Now we have these Christmas trees in everyone's homes, and it's the same process. Putting the mistletoe, not the mistletoe, but the what's it called? The icicles. I can't remember what they're referred to right now, but
The
back in
little
the day,
bulbs.
yeah, the
Bulbs, I
bulbs
think.
and all the gold and silver and the stars and all this thing decorating the tree, and then placing. It's the same thing that the pagans were doing when they were worshiping this tree as a god of nature and so forth. And so, no, we're not saying that people worship the tree, but we're saying that this practice was a pagan practice where they were bringing offerings to the tree. The tree was symbolic of a god of nature and so forth, and so they would do this thing. They would decorate it with gold and silver, bring not gifts, but offerings to it, place it in and around and on the tree. And it's the same thing that's been adopted and grafted into Christianity, where these trees are being utilized as a distraction, basically a distraction from our Creator. And so, this is the evidence is there. You have to be willing to look it up. And
And I think also with Muslims, with the Christmas trees, I've seen a lot of people shaping a Christmas tree into like a moon shape for Eid. And again, it's just really funny because it doesn't come from our religion either. This Christmas is a pagan religion, so I don't know why people are creating like Eid trees and calling it an Eid Christmas tree or anything like that, because you shouldn't associate nothing with it. It's just silly.
Yeah, I totally agree. So I see Brother Muhammad's backstage, so we're going to bring Brother Muhammad on. So be ready, Brother Muhammad.
I'll see you, brother.
All right, here we go. Brother Muhammad, assalamu alaikum from Australia. How are you, brother?
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My apology. My alarm. I just messed up with my alarms. So I was late. You guys been up on the show for about an hour or so, and I'm quite not happy that I missed a lot of information you guys shared already. But I have heard last few minutes when Kenny was trying not to be on screen.
Yeah. He was trying to hide.
But without Kenny, this show is a little bit. I understand you guys are doing very well, but
Yeah.
a lot of us, we love to see and hear from him as well. But
Definitely.
he can't hide. He can't hide. He's the spirit of these shows. Understand that
Yeah.
you guys need to do as well. Very good. Well done. You guys probably done 1 hour or so information spreading stuff, especially Brother Rumzi's there as well. And you guys
Yeah.
are very capable kids. Well done, boys and girls. So
Thank you.
topic is as usual. In Australia, our Christmas event is actually nearly gone. It's 27th of December here. It's quite calm here. So
Yeah.
I don't need to. I understand, sister, you were raising concerns about how difficult it is that around us, the whole community is actually always, without knowing, congratulating us, greeting us in a way that we should try to avoid. It is
Yeah.
difficult to avoid it.
Yeah.
It is not that easy. But saying that, when slowly, if we defend our faith, when we defend ourselves, slowly, people will understand that some
Yeah.
people are not really into it.
Definitely. Yeah.
For sure. Saying that, and I heard also, sister, you were mentioning that a lot of Muslims, people like us, they are getting trapped into these things.
Yeah.
I agree 100%. It all starts with a fun type of word. for kids.
Yeah.
Okay, this is just for kids. Okay, my neighbor will come over. He will say, look, these are the gifts for the kids only. I know you don't celebrate Christmas, but this is just for the kids.
Yeah.
That is
Definitely.
the time. That is
It's
the time
misleading.
when we should, yeah, that is the time when we should avoid getting into traps.
Yeah.
These are not just the traps from somebody intentionally. These are the small traps for us to get trapped into shirks. Brother Kenny, mashallah, mentioned these are the small kind of shirks, but these
Mm-hmm.
small kind of shirks lead to our blindness. We
Yeah.
get blinded by these things. We get blinded by, there will be time, then we will have this all norm. This will be all normal stuff. There will be time if we keep accepting small steps, we will end up very far.
Definitely.
So,
That's very well
mashallah,
said.
very
Very-
well said, brother and sister as well.
Yeah, and that's very
Thank
well
you.
said from you. That's it's certainly a test, and you can imagine that you know, if we were in the days of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and someone was trying to lure your children or try to make an excuse of you know, going to, I don't know what kind of example we could use, but trying to use that same logic and thinking and trying to talk you into allowing your children, your very children, into doing this particular deed or thing, and like it's no big deal, but it is a big deal, and it's a test to you to say, wait a minute, you know, I have no problem with these other people, and this is their religion; they can do what they want to, but these are my children, and I'm not going to compromise my children and feed my children the lie that Santa Claus is real when I know good and well he's not, and we're not going to participate in this. I have to kindly refuse to allow my children to be a part of this for the sake of my own children, you know, and for the sake of Allah, obviously, but for, you know, to protect my children, because if you open the door, it's like saying, oh, I mean, this is an example. Oh, here's some alcohol. Let your child taste it. It's not going to hurt. It's just going to be one little sip. Really? Are you going to let your child do that? Here's a little bit of crack. Let you you know, here's some heroin or whatever. Just let them try it. It's not going to be. It's only one time.
That sounds like the peer pressure at school. The peer pressure you deal with at school. That's exactly what that sounds like.
Yeah, and the thing is, that's the shaitan whispering. That's why we seek refuge. Yeah, that's the shaitan. That's the whispers of the shaitan that we pray in Surah Nas, right? Asking Allah to protect us from the whispering of the shaitan. Every day we pray this. We should be numerous times a day. We pray this every day, 5 times a day. You have to, okay? And we protect ourselves from these whisperings because it's those whisperings, those very subtle whisperings that will lead you astray. And it might not only be something that's spoken, it could be something that you see. So you see all these shimmering and glimmering festivities and the Christmas trees, and yeah, it's beautiful. It looks beautiful, right? But it's a test to you. Allah says clearly in the Quran, this life is nothing but play and amusement. And so if you want to sacrifice and be part of the play and amusement at the sacrifice of yourself or your children, then, you know, something's wrong here. And so if you wouldn't allow someone to talk you into saying, oh, it's just a little bit of alcohol, let the child taste it. Okay, well, you let them taste it, you fall into that trap, and the next thing you know, your child remembers later in life that, oh, mom and dad let me taste a little bit of alcohol. So you apply that logic to, oh, I remember the time when we were Muslims, but we had a Christmas tree in our home back in the day, and you've opened the door to a problem here. You've cracked open the door a little bit. Now the shaitan are going to come, and they're going to try to keep, once you crack that door a little bit, they're going to try to keep pushing through. And eventually someone may say, oh, we used to do it as a child. We were Muslims, but we had a Christmas tree. Next thing you know, someone invites them to the church. They get caught up in the emotion of the drums playing and the pianos and the guitars and people running around and dancing and so forth. And they think that the Holy Spirit then jumped on them as a Muslim as well. And now they're a Christian. Okay. So this is dangerous, man. This is nothing to play with. And the sister said earlier, it's jihad. It's jihad. What is jihad?
Yep.
Striving in the cause of Allah to live in the obedience of Allah, to protect yourself, to protect the community. And if you are a Muslim and you are participating in these things, you're doing the exact opposite.
Yeah.
You're doing the exact opposite. And so it's very serious.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
also heard, brother, that sister was mentioning that how we Muslims around in the communities, they are also, Eid free and so forth. I heard that, and then my mind trick in, those small, small sins. For example, alcohol consumption, adultery. Adultery is not a small sin.
No.
Gambling, what they call. So many things are not allowed in a lot of Islamic societies.
Yeah.
But the shirk's supposed to be the number one. And we are allowing the shirk to come into those societies
yeah,
without knowing that we are trying to say no gambling in this country, no alcohol consumption in this country, no fornication in this country, but it's okay. Let's start idolatry. How
Mm.
ironic is this? How
Yeah.
sad it is. I was very upset of the day when I heard the news about uh, this sort of idolatry stuff was selling in Riyadh. I said, hang
Yeah.
on, that country from Prophet's life, there were no pictures kept of Prophet. It's not like there were no painters around. There
Mm.
were no pictures kept of Prophet. There were no monuments kept of around Prophet because they were fearing the people will make the statues out of it. And now
Yeah.
we are introducing statues in the home of Lord. It's a sad part in the name of inclusiveness. This is how a small thing becomes so huge, and it is
Yeah.
going to become huge. I can
It's
see
all a
it.
part of facade, and I think it's all to do with the comings of Dajjal, because Allah said in the Quran, as the time gets closer, as the time gets more near to the end, people are going to follow other people and forget their own religions, and also uh, Muslims are going to follow scholars and these muftis and sheikhs, and even if they're misleading, they're still going to agree with their points and not research their own answers and questions in the Quran. And I think that's what the world's coming to nowadays, and you can clearly see the sign of it. And it's just really sad, like, even though like reverts and born Muslims, it's just sad, the fact that they're all just on this big train and they're just following each other, but they're not looking at themselves as an individual. Like, when you go into your grave, it's not like the whole of mankind is going to go in the grave with you. You're going to go alone. You're going to have to answer your questions alone. So why are you following other people? If they're wrong, they're wrong.
that's
And
right.
that's it is.
Absolutely.
Rightfully. Just the way your wording actually reflecting that we should consider, we should ponder.
Mhm.
These words are famous words from Brother Kenny. They come so
Yeah.
often in our lives. We forget. We human forget time to time purpose of basic life in Islamic faith. We
Yeah.
do astray, but the best ones are those ones who consider and return back to the right path, straight path.
That's
Unfortunately, our surroundings keeping us in a way, but this is how it is. I survive very well in this environment this 25th December. But not everybody. You guys are sometimes have to mingle around a lot of people in offices, a lot of
Yeah.
others. So it's a good time to promote the right thing.
Yeah,
It's
definitely.
it's definitely not the correct path, but it's become so much norm around societies. It becomes a battle now, a little bit huge battle.
Yeah, and,
Yeah.
and I think Sister Safiyyah made a great point in that, um, on the day of judgment, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that man is going to run from his own wife and children on that day. And the same
Hmm.
applies to the wife. She's going to run from her own husband and children on that day. In that you're only going to be concerned with what you've done yourself, and you realize the severity of or the magnitude, I should say, of that day, that when we stand before Allah, we're going to be judged for everything that we've done. So if in fact we're going to, which we will, we're going to run from our own wives and children and so forth, our family members, our parents, and we're gonna be like, just get away from me. I'm only focused on myself today and what I've done, because now you remember everything that you've done in this life. So if we know that, if you have a knowledge of that, then why in the world would you compromise yourself in this life by accepting outside influence? If you're not going to, if on that day you're going to run from your own wife and your children, surely you're going to run from strangers and other people in society that are out there that have tried to, directly or indirectly influence you in some form or fashion. So we got to be conscious about these things and be very defensive in that.
Yeah.
You have to protect yourself and realize that by protecting yourself, then you have a responsibility to protect everyone who's around you, protect society as a whole. And that's what the show is about. The Sister Safiyyah, Brother Areeb wanting to discuss this. It's not to be defensive. We had a show about this, a similar topic a couple of days ago on Kenny Bomer Live, right? And it's not to be offensive. We're not trying to be offensive or mock anyone's religion. No. We're being offensive. We're being defensive in that we're defending the haqq, the truth that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has revealed to all the prophets, warning people time and time and time again not to associate any partners with Allah. Don't set up false gods and false deities and worship other things other than Allah. And so we're defending the truth and nothing more. It's not to be offensive and so forth.
I think we're also protecting the people that are listening as well, because the last thing I want to say quickly is that Allah said himself that on the day when people stand before him, people will start blaming each other, like Brother Kenny mentioned, like, mums will run from the sons, and sons are going to run from the mums, and the wives and the husbands, and everyone's just going to be really, really confused. But what they're going to say to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is that we was never told about it. So we didn't know that this was wrong. We had no clue. But on that very day, because Allah already knows what you don't know, Allah already knows exactly what you're doing on your day-to-day life. He knows what this conversation's about right now, right? So on that day, Allah is going to make your hands and your legs and your ears talk for you, your tongue talk for you. So that's the thing, like, fear the punishments of Allah. Don't be a person that on the day of judgment, you can't face Allah, right? Don't be a person where Allah won't look at you with a smile. Be that person to always be close and to guide others closer. Don't think that you're offending anyone, or I don't know how to say it, offending someone or being rude to someone by saying the truth, because at the end of the day, you're not, because we're all going to be stood in front of Allah. We're all going to be judged. So there is no right and wrong. So if you're doing the right thing, you should strive to do that right thing. You shouldn't worry about it. You shouldn't worry about what people have to say to you, or how they're going to mock you, or how they're going to swear at you. It does not matter. If they follow it, then good, because they're saving themselves from the punishment. So they're doing themselves a favor.
That's right. Let me post these two messages that I see right here just quickly. It says this Lee 7 or Kevin or 7, I'm not sure, says Jesus Christ was not born on December 25th. Everyone knows that. We use it to remember why he came. That should be the focus. Okay, a couple of points here. For one, if you know that Jesus, peace be upon him, was not born on the 25th, but you're celebrating it despite that, then you're supporting a lie. You're condoning a lie. You know that he wasn't born on December the 25th. So why participate in that? Okay, so yes, it sounds romantic that a savior would come into the world, but the fact of the matter is, as Sister Safiyyah mentioned, if you study Mithraism, you'll see that this whole idea of a God-man being born on December 25th, being a savior of the world and so forth, that existed long before the life of Jesus, peace be upon him. And so that's the pagan influence. So why would you celebrate on a day that you know is not the day that he was born? And you're just doing it just because. You're setting aside logic and reason and just going on with what society has told you to do. Here's another proof of that. This person says, I celebrated on the 25th because it's tradition. Exactly. That's the point.
Yeah.
It says it could be any other day in principle, given that we don't know the actual date. But this is exactly the point. You celebrate it because it's your tradition. And these traditions have been passed down from the pagan influence where other god men were celebrated on this particular day long before Jesus, peace be upon him. Mithra, Ptolemy Soter, Isis, not Isis, but Osiris, Adisophergia, the emperor, not him, but Apollonius of Tyana. Okay, there's others. Okay, so if you're just doing it by tradition, then you're doing exactly, you've proven the point. And we already know this is the case, that people are accepting these things simply based on societal influence, based on tradition. And this is the deception of the devil, the Satan, in that he's trying to distract people and take the focus off of the creator and put focus on the creation. Okay, and if you think Jesus is God, then you have to question, why is the Bible saying repeatedly that he's the Son of God? And then we have the whole idea of the Trinity that we have to decipher. And then we have to break down the scriptures themselves, which I promise you that I'm going to do in the debate with Reverend Samuel Green on January 25th, where I'm going to go deep into the scriptures themselves of the Bible and talk about this very thing that we're talking about, how the pagan influence has been accepted and adopted and grafted into the Christian religion itself. And these last comments right here prove it.
Yeah.
You have proven the case. Case closed.
Can you watch this? Watch this. You mind if I ask something? Okay. Brother Muhammad, can I ask you something? Imagine right now, imagine your wife's wedding anniversary. You and your wife's wedding anniversary was today. And then you were to approach her and say, "Why, honey, happy anniversary 3 months from now." What would your wife think about that? How would your wife react to that?
No, she will get divorce certificate ready that you remember my birthday after 3 months. Get out of here.
Or maybe 3 months early. I don't know. Now imagine now the fact that these masakin, as we say in Arabic, have the audacity to say, "Well, the day doesn't matter." Well, if the day doesn't matter, then why does the celebration matter? What's the point?
There is a question arrived in my mind.
That's a good point within itself.
What's the point of an anniversary if you're going to do it on the wrong day? That kind of defeats the purpose.
Also, there is a question came in my mind. Brother Kenny may be able to reflect on it. Was there any tree decorations or Santa's socks? These sort of stories written at the birth of Jesus in anywhere in the history? I don't think so.
So in the book of Jeremiah, so I mentioned earlier, as far as the Christmas goes, in the book of Jeremiah, in two different verses in Jeremiah, in the book of Jeremiah in the Bible is what scholars believe is probably the most authentic book of the Bible. And it says in chapter 10, and I can't remember the other chapter right now, but we talked about it earlier, where saying that people should not be of those who practice vanity by following the works of the axe man who chops down the tree and carves the tree and then decorates it, nails it in place, and then decorates it with gold and silver and so forth. So these ideas, once again, most certainly extended before the life. For sure.
Yeah. And I was thinking, brother, that if there were any cultures like this existing within the lifetime of Prophet Jesus, peace be upon him, where he was saying, "Look, when I die, you guys got to keep this my tradition of celebrating my birth." I can't find any. Like Jesus himself saying that you got to erect a tree and you got to celebrate in this way my birth. I can't find anywhere that kind of evidence where Jesus said himself that you do these sort of stuff about my birth. I don't know where it comes from.
There's nothing in the Bible that states anything like that. Yeah,
The most
so once
important
again,
part here.
that's a good point, because so now you're doing something that your Bible doesn't say anything about doing. And so where did it
No.
come from? It came from pagan influence, where other god men were worshipped throughout history on this particular day. And so if you're accepting that, then why? Why are you accepting it?
It started actually centuries and centuries after the Jesus, peace be upon him, gone up to the heavens.
Yeah.
Centuries and centuries after it was created by, those typical leaders in like Constantino and other around that area. It was just introduced to Christianity because pagan people will join us,
Yes.
and they may convert towards us. This is what it is. This was a creative deception for pagan and join their pagan rituals. And how come this becomes like a religious festival? I can't believe.
So there's a book titled Christianity's Pagan. Actually, it was an article published last year, May 2019, titled Christianity's Pagan Roots, Traditions, Practices, and Holidays. And it says in that article, it says the roots of Christianity are interlaced with ancient pagan traditions and elements, mainly because the church gained power through forced conversion. And it says, in order to convert the people of Europe from their pagan beliefs, the church felt that they had to turn those people against their beliefs by fear or adopt the pagan beliefs into the Christian religion. And the historian William Durant, as I mentioned earlier, he says that Christianity did not destroy paganism, it adopted it. So the point being that all of this stuff stems from pagan influence. And people can make the claim that Islam is filled with pagan influence and so forth. No, it's not. Islam destroyed the pagan influence. Kissing the stone is no more different than someone stepping off of a plane after they've been away from their motherland for a long period of time, and they kiss the ground. They're not worshiping the ground. They're just thankful to be there. They're thankful to be there. So when the Muslims go to the Kaaba and they kiss the stone, they're not worshiping the stone. They're not worshiping the Kaaba. And matter of fact, it's not a requirement for us to kiss the stone. No one. Matter of fact, most Muslims don't kiss the stone. Some do. Most don't. The vast majority don't. And
some become way too passionate. They think this stone was touched by a prophet and all the saints.
Yeah.
That's why they become so passionate. That if I can help, there were 4 different tribes who were fighting to who should put this stone and attach to Kaaba. So the whole ummah was joined there to place it over there with the orders arrived from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And there are so much history in there. People who follow Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for whole their lives, they become sometimes emotional. They see something which belongs and to all those prophets they used to touch it, or they may have touched it. They feel if we touch this stone, we may have touched the actual person, and we may feel like we are blessed. Nothing. That stone itself has no value at all. As I can see, Brother Kenny is going to say something.
But yeah, I'm so aggravated by the post in the chat. The guy saying paganism is only okay when Muslims do it. No, no, it's not okay if Muslims do it. But the fact is, Muslims aren't doing that. Okay, so I repeat, listen closely. Brother Muhammad just spoke on it as well. The Muslims who go to Mecca and visit the Kaaba, they are kissing the stone simply because it's a sentimental reason. They're emotional about finally being in this place that has so much history behind it. But they're not worshiping the stone. No. They're not, by no means, they're not praying to the stone. They're not praying to the Kaaba. And so it's not, bear with me, it's not paganism. Paganism is worshiping false gods. Okay. Now, if you are a Christian and you're worshiping Jesus, peace be upon him, and in one breath you say he's the Son of God, then you've created 2 distinct beings. He's the Son of God. Okay. And in the next breath you say that they are the same God, the same being. then you are engaging in cognitive dissonance. Okay. And this is what psychologists say refers to when someone has a conflicting view within their own mind and they try to make something that is totally opposite the same thing. Okay. So it's cognitive dissonance. And so that's idolatry. That's paganism. That's totally different. So again, no Muslims are worshiping anyone other than Allah, and if they are, they're not a Muslim. They're worshiping anyone other than Allah, they're not a Muslim. Period. Okay. So obviously, when you make comments like that, you don't really know what paganism is and what Muslims do and what Muslims don't do. Okay. And what the significance of these things are. Again, most Muslims don't kiss the stone. Some do.
What happened?
But it's not worshiping the stone when it's being done. You're worshiping a God, man, and you're taking pagan elements and accepting them into your religion, and the evidence is clear. So listen, Bo Rudder, go do some research and then come back and talk, because right now you're talking out of pure ignorance, and you shouldn't do that. That's very unwise. Okay.
Can I just, in case Bo Rudder isn't aware, I mentioned this in the chat. When Christians visit Bethlehem, they kiss the spot where Jesus was born. I've seen it with my own eyes.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
so using that logic, I guess Christians worship the floor. Using that logic, of course. No one's saying
brother,
that.
No, Brother Rumsey, I remember 20 years after from Australia, when I went back to the country I came from, and I visit my mom, and my mom was gone crazy. She even kissed my hands, she kissed my feet, every way she can kiss. It's a pure, passionate
I'm not aware of any mothers who worship
nothing more than that. But if a mother can kiss you with pure heart and love, does not mean that they are worshiping you.
No.
With the passion and with love, with the respect, sometimes we do things towards each other, does not make it a shirk, or does not make it idolatry or anything. Now, how much I respect, I've got respect, dearly respect of one of the brother in the screen. So whenever I see him, I feel like, wow, the man is there. I give up everything and run towards the screen. Do I worship these things? Not really. There are respects for each other. There are passion about each other. I can give you millions examples from our lives. These people who think that we are worshiping this thing or that thing. This is all about respect and imagine those people cannot imagine how a Muslim feel when first time they go to Kaaba, because they cannot imagine that a person who pray 5 times to that direction, how important the direction itself becomes. If you have been practicing throughout your life, 45 years or 50 years of your lifetime, that you every day 5 times you choose that direction because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has chosen that direction for you, and you reach to that direction and you do not go into your emotions, how come you can't avoid the emotions that time? And these people have no clue, because they are sitting outside and looking at it. If you practice with yourself, then you will know what is passion, what is love, and what is worship.
That's right. Very well said, brother.
Unless all loving fathers, all loving husbands, all loving sons are all pagans, I guess. Because they kiss their moms, they kiss their wives, they kiss their daughters, they kiss their...
No.
Anyway.
Some people just, they are commenting because they have no idea. It's not that they just hate Islam, but just because they don't know.
It's their ignorance. No clue. It's their ignorance to actually learn that.
Yeah. Those people that think that why we worship the black stone. Nobody does that. The importance of that black stone is every prophet for Ibrahim, from Ibrahim until Muhammad, that direction was so important for the whole ummah. Ummah does not mean that we people now, the whole generations of those people, prophets. And when that place on the earth is given so much importance, even that was chosen by Almighty Himself, how important is that direction, and how important is that place which has been built with the hands of all the saints, time to time. They restruct it as well. And how important is that? This is the place is important only. It's not the worshipping of it. If you do not have passion in your heart, if your the soul do not have love, how can you will be dead soul. So those emotions comes out only because it is important. These places are important. Why? Because they are chosen by Almighty,
That's
not
right.
because. Yeah, it's impossible for somebody in the chat to understand the importance of those places until they practice it.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing's for certain, again, it's
Sure.
not being worshipped. The Kaaba is not being worshipped. The black stone is not being worshipped, and period. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is not being worshipped, not by Muslims, and so let's clarify that. So it's a huge difference here. I'm gonna step out and let Sister Safiyyah close the show whenever she feels that she's ready. But I do want to make mention. I'm going to be discussing once again on January the 15th. Well, depending where you're at, depending on where you're at, I will be discussing. The topic is Jesus God according to the Bible with Reverend Samuel Green on January 15th for people in the United States or Canada and so forth. If you're in Australia, like Brother Muhammad is in Australia, it'll be January 16th, Saturday, January 16th at noon in Austin, not Austin, but Australia, Eastern Standard Time. I guess that's what that means.
That's correct.
Be 7 p.m. on Friday evening for me. I'm going to be talking about a lot of these things with Samuel. I'm looking forward to that debate. So make sure you look for that. The link is not available yet, but it will be available soon, inshallah, God willing.
I'm looking forward to that one.
So yeah, so that's going to be a good
My
debate.
alarm is ready.
You're ready for that? Good, alhamdulillah. I'm ready for that debate as well.
I
So
will be in the backstage.
Sister Safiyyah, you and Brother Areeb have done beautiful. This is is this the second or the third show?
This is the second one with
show?
dealing with Dawah. Yeah.
Great conversation, great topic, and I look forward to checking out the next one. And make sure you check out Sister Safiyyah, Super Safiyyah on Super Safiyyah Islamic on YouTube. Matter of fact, let me post the banner and make sure you subscribe there. Make sure you subscribe here and so forth. So, Sister Safiyyah, I'm going to leave it to you, but I want to say assalamu alaikum to Brother Muhammad, Brother Ramzi, and to you as well. Also, Brother Areeb.
Thank you.
And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless in each and every one of you and accept all of your efforts on the day of judgment. Alhamdulillah.
Ameen.
Awesome.
So, yeah, I think that's the end of the show. And Areeb's actually, his laptop's gone off, so he's not here. So his battery's died. But yeah, thank you for everyone that's listened. Thank you for Brother Ramzi and Brother Mohammed for joining. And all thanks goes to Kenny for setting up this show and making it actually possible for us to do Dawah here, because without it we wouldn't be here, wouldn't have been doing it. So stay tuned with Brother Kenny and make sure to support his channel as well. Jazakallah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you. Allah Hafiz. Allah Hafiz.
Sallallahu ala Muhammad. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Allahumma salli wa sallim ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali Sayyidina Muhammad.